Hello everyone. Today was a very successful day. Dominic was over and he was very instrumental in changing out the fuel separator, which is here, and also we installed a new temperature sender. But first things first, this is the fuel separator that came out of the L82. Okay, and this was the leaking item. And here you can see down here where it was compromised. Okay, so the seam started coming apart and we were getting a leak in this area, which obviously was leaking all over. So this was basically easy to pry open. And as you notice, let me see if I could focus on this, there's a part number just for this door. So I'm assuming apparently at one time this could have been repaired by basic parts from the dealership. That I'm not sure. But here's the ping pong size ball, and this appears to be very solid. And also inside you can see there's a brass fitting, which this check valve goes into. So from what I understand, and I may have to be corrected on this, but here it goes. In fact, when you hear it, that's what's shaking up. It appears that when you fill your gas tank up to the top below the neck, okay, as you know, you have a hose coming out of the tank towards the top of the tank where this is attached, and that hose, which is a gas hose, goes onto this bottom fitting or port. When that happens, because this is open all the way through. Let me see if I could get a good angle on that. But believe me, trust me. Let's see. As you can see, okay, that is wide open. This port here is only open to an extent, and in fact, you really can't see it go through. Oh, yes, you can. Okay. So what happens is the fuel goes into here. This check valve is not really in there yet because the ball is down. So when the fuel goes in, it raises the ball, which in turn closes off this port. And it has to do with pressure, so forth and so on. Not a scientist, but just trying to simplify what happens. So this is closed, this is attached to your fuel tank, the fuel goes in, it raises the ball, the check valve goes into the brass port or whatever, and then it closes off this section. So then what happens when the fuel goes down back into the tank due to the pressure or whatever, it gets sucked back into the tank. This will open up, and any fumes that accumulated in here now come out through here, go into the rubber line, which goes into the steel line, runs along the frame on the driver's side into your charcoal canister. Then it runs from your charcoal canister up to the PCV valve, so forth and so on, into the front of the carburetor and gets reburned through the carburetor. So that's as simple as I can make it. Again, I may stand to be corrected in some areas. So what happens then, over years of service, sometimes the seam gets compromised, like it did on ours, and then you just start leaking fuel. Now, as I mentioned in another thread, some of the research that we did, people were putting some type of adhesive or whatever, and they were putting it around the seam and all of the other seams that were visible. And that is like an added security feature as far as leak goes. And we did that, and I'll show you pictures when we post up the pictures of the one we installed in the vehicle. So right now, there are no leaks with the new fuel separator. There is no gas odor in the engine compartment or around the gas tank, especially when coming in from a drive and parking in the garage. Before, I was getting like an odor here and there. Today it's really clean, so that was really successful there. Another thing we ended up doing, as you know, we had trouble with the temperature gauge. This is the temperature sensor that was in the top of the thermostat cover. Due to the different set of heads we have on the car, and this does not fit into those style of heads. So that was in the thermostat cover, as I mentioned. I don't think it was working properly. This could be the original or whatever, or maybe a replacement somewhere along the way. So we got a new replacement, and again, that'll be posted up in the pictures, and that has the spade type. We installed that. In fact, there was no antifreeze that came out when we took this one out, so it fit right in, no problem. And so far, the temperature gauge is really working well. There's a slight deviation, maybe like it would be a few degrees here or there, but nothing like before. The needle is not erratic, so it's reading good. So we're happy with that. I want to go back to the fuel separator because I did something that I thought would be a good thing to do, and obviously it wasn't a good thing to do. And that was when we installed it, I came up with a brilliant idea of putting a little lubricant around the ports so the hose would slide on easier. Well, we did, and we did it. And then Dominic said, hey, these hoses are moving way too much, you could turn them. So what we did is we took the hoses off, we cleaned the ports with alcohol, rubbed everything off, and also got Q-tips and went inside of the hose with alcohol to clean everything off. And then we reinstalled the hose, and it was a good tight fit. So do not, I repeat, do not, in my opinion, put any lubricant over these ports. Just slide the hoses over, and you want a real good tight fit, and that's what we got. And yes, that was very successful. And as you can see here, there is a new temperature sensor, and it works really well. And we got a wire repair kit, and we put that on, and you know, it goes back here. We try to keep it away from any heat possible. So far, so good. And we will see how everything else goes. Making a lot of progress today. And we did some more to the interior. Got the covers on for the front of the console, both sides. Got the radio knobs onto the radio. Only thing left to do is I'll be working on the right side door panel probably tomorrow and get that done. And then the interior will just be completed. Another view from the right side with the cover. Not fitting exactly like it should, but it is what it is. But overall, we're really happy with the way everything is turning out. Again, the interior is almost done. And then moving on to whatever. All right, catch you later.